feel like it due to the fact that El Nino is making it look like summer outside. But it is the end of the year, so that means it's time for me to list my top 10 movies of 2018. Number 10 on my list is Upgrade. It's a horror movie that takes place in the future. Basically, the plot is that a guy gets into a car accident, and the doctors tell him that he won't be able to walk again. But then his tech billionaire approaches him and tells him that he will implant him with this little tiny robot thing that will control his body and allow him to move again. And it does, it works. He can walk around, he can move. But as the film goes on, you start to question which of them is really in control, the guy or the robot. And it's genuinely scary. It's got incredible action, maybe the best action of the year. Pretty good special effects for such a low-budget movie. And good performances. So that's an all-around good movie. Oh, good twist, too. Yeah. Number 10, Upgrade. Number 9 is Creed 2. This movie is, while not being as good as the first Creed, it's still a tremendous movie, and it further proves that the Rocky franchise can stand up in a time where there are all these different franchises going on, like DC, Marvel, Godzilla, all these big franchises. Rocky is still up there, and they still make great movies. This one has the new, younger Creed taking on the son of Ivan Drago, who you may remember from the fourth Rocky movie. So they fight, and that's great. Rocky is back, Sylvester Stallone. He's got a pretty emotional storyline in this one. Michael B. Jordan is great. Tessa Thompson, she's a little annoying. You could kill her off. I wouldn't be terribly mad, to be honest with you. It definitely lacked some of the flourishes and style that Ryan Coogler brought to the first one. But still an overall great movie. Number 9, Creed 2. Number 8 on my list is Can You Ever Forgive Me? It stars Melissa McCarthy. She's actually doing a serious role in this one. She plays a woman who kind of comes up with a get-rich-quick scheme, and what she's doing is forging signatures of famous authors and then trying to sell them to bookstores to make a quick buck. And she makes a whole lot more than a quick buck. She starts making a ton of money. She is incredible in this movie and deserves an Oscar nomination for sure. The supporting characters are great. There's another guy in the movie, Hugh Grant. He also deserves a Oscar nomination, I'd say. I haven't seen a ton of movies this year, but I'd say he was fantastic and he deserves one too. So, number 8, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Number 7 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie just has incredible animation. It's like partly 2D, partly 3D. It looks a little bit like the Peanuts movie from a couple years ago, but just like on steroids. Great voice acting, great soundtrack, pretty good villain actually. Fantastic post-credit scene. Make sure you stick around. It's got real heart. You really feel for all the characters. And I don't have much more to say, but as a Spider-Man fan, this was a fantastic movie, and probably the second best Spider-Man movie ever made. Number 6 on my list is Mission Impossible Fallout. It doesn't have incredible acting or anything, but just the stunts and the action are it's just so much fun. It's just fun from start to finish, and just knowing that Tom Cruise does his own stunts is just incredible, especially because he's like a 55-year-old man. And some of these scenes are so tense, you're just on the edge of your seat. holding your breath, you know, especially at the end. I don't really want to spoil it, but it's in the trailer. He's on a helicopter, and it is wild, let me tell you. So yeah, number 6, Mission Impossible Fallout. Number 5 is Love, Simon. This is a fantastic movie. It's a fantastic comedy, but it also has a real heartfelt core to it. It is a straight up homage, I'd say, to the classic films of John Hughes, like The Breakfast Club or Ferris Bueller, or you know what I'm talking about. Fun fact: the director of this movie is also the creator of all of the CW DC comics shows, like The Flash and Arrow. The director of this movie, you know, he can do action, he can do this. What can he do? That's my question. Number 4 is Black Klansman. It tells the crazy true story of how a black man joined the KKK without them even knowing. It's a whole lot of fun, but it also is very dramatic, and it's hard to watch at times. And it's so brutal, but the performances are incredible. Adam Driver, who you may know from Star Wars, gives the best performance I've ever seen. All the people who are playing KKK members, that's got to be so hard to play like an evil, you know, just somebody you disagree with so much. I can't even imagine that, saying the things that they had to say. The movie had style, it had substance. It was just incredible. It was a great movie. Towards the end, they try to tie it into modern politics, and I thought that was a little heavy-handed, but I know that other people really thought that was a moving part of the movie, so you know, I won't take too many points off or anything, but it was really good, and I had very few complaints. Number 3 is Avengers Infinity War. This was just a great, fun movie. Good performances, especially from Robert Downey Jr. and Josh Brolin as Thanos. It was the culmination of like 20 Marvel movies, and you can feel it. Almost every storyline gets a conclusion, and it ends with a great setup for Avengers Endgame, which obviously comes out next year. That's all I gotta say. Great movie. I love all the characters, and these directors, Anthony and Joe Russo, have big things for them in the future. I can tell. Number 2 is Bad Times at the El Royale. It's a kind of a crime movie that takes place at this hotel on the border of California and Nevada. It's got a lot of big name stars in it. It's got Nick Offerman from Parks and Recreation, John Hamm. You know, you can look it up on IMDb. Great cast, great aesthetic. It's kind of got that like dark, rainy vibe, but at the same time there's all these neon lights of the hotel, so it just looks gorgeous. It's got a quick, witty script from Drew Goddard. Everyone does a good performance. It's kind of neat the way they tell each character's story separately, but then they bring them all together at the end with a conclusion that is just incredible. Oh, and how can I forget? Chris Hemsworth is in the movie as kind of the leader of this cult, and he is so charismatic. I feel like I would join the cult, honestly. And finally, number 1, my favorite movie of 2018, and one of my favorite horror movies ever made, if not my favorite horror movie ever made, is Hereditary. It is the second scariest movie I've ever seen, but maybe also just one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Just the way it builds tension and all the performances, especially Toni Collette as the main character. She deserves an Oscar nomination. I'm not sure she'll get one. I haven't been hearing a lot of buzz for her, but she's amazing. And the color palette is kind of dark, and the house that they're in is just so creepy. And the kind of way they kind of film it in a way that almost makes every scene look like it takes place in a dollhouse. Um, it kind of gives it a claustrophobic kind of feeling. And this movie also taught me an important lesson, which is that horror movies don't have to be like jumping at you and just like stupid and like jump scares. You know, they can be deep and they can be they can really mean something. And I think that's an important lesson for people to learn. It's that horror can be more than just like Five Nights at Freddy's or something. Yeah, so that's my list. Thank you for watching.